gentlemen, to an all-new reaction and review. Tonight, guys, I'm looking at a political satire black comedy from 1964. That movie? Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. That has to be one of the fucking weirdest titles I have ever heard in my life. I am not joking. Now, I'm gonna tell you everything I know about this film. I know it's co-written and directed by film legend Stanley Kubrick. And I've seen numerous amounts of his films. I've seen A Clockwork Orange, which I fucking loved. Eyes Wide Shut, which I really enjoyed. Full Metal Jacket, which was okay. Lolita, beautiful film. In fact, the only film I've seen of his that I actually didn't like, and this is going to be a surprise, was The Shining. Yes, folks, I am one of the few people in this world that didn't like The Shining. I thought it was rather boring and just really inferior to Stephen King's novel, which ironically I actually own. It's somewhere in this room. But anyway, that's not the point. The only one of his films I haven't seen are Spartacus, which I will watch eventually. 2001 Space Odyssey, which I refuse to watch because it looks boring as shit. And this film. And I'm not even really sure what this whole thing is about exactly. I know it has something to do with a crazy ass scientist or something leaking a nuke and causing a nuclear war or something like that. I'm not really sure, but I've heard a lot of positive things about this. I mean, it has the highest rating on Rotten Tomatoes of all of Stanley Kubrick's works, including The Shining. So that gives me at least a glimmer of hope, and I know that at least 8 out of 10 of the time, Stanley Kubrick knows how to make a good fucking movie. So I actually kind of have hopes going into this film. I'm hoping it will be as good as maybe like A Clockwork Orange, but I also have this slight feeling it could also be a giant piece of shit like The Shining. I'm not really sure, but the only way I'm gonna find out if this movie's any good at all is if I shut the fuck up and I push play. And I'm gonna do that right now. So, without further ado, let's sit back, chill out, and watch Dr. Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Is that fucking pilot seriously fucking reading a Playboy while he's driving this jet? Okay, I'm no expert. Maybe he's got it on autopilot. I don't know. Did they have autopilot in the 60s? I don't fucking know, but I'm no expert. That just seems like a really bad idea. And now, that doesn't sound good. Never mind. I don't know. This movie's off to a weird start. I'm hoping it'll pick up a little bit, but so far it seems alright. You want to know something I think is fucking hilarious? At this military base, I've seen 3 different signs that say, "Our profession is peace, peace is our profession." But the amount of weapons I am seeing at this fucking base is telling me otherwise. I've seen so many jeeps with fucking guns on the back, and I've seen a bunch of bombs and all this shit. That's fucking hilarious. Really fucking hilarious. I'm actually really starting to enjoy this movie, guys. Fuck yeah. Well, thankfully believe they just answered an actual fucking question for me, because I was wondering the same thing. I'm pretty sure the president's the only one who can order nuclear weapons, but they just fucking said it right there. But I have a big question, and I hope they're going to explain this. Why exactly is it they're going to nuke Russia? Like, nobody is explaining why. The general just kind of seems to say, fuck it, let's nuke Russia. I'm not understanding why.
I'm afraid not. You see, the plane we're holding
I'm certainly hoping they'll explain it, but so far I'm really enjoying this, guys. It's fucking amazing. Well, that was certainly one of the coolest fucking goddamn shootouts between armies I've ever fucking seen. Honestly, like, that fucking little shootout that they just did there was fucking better than a lot of fucking army movies that fucking come out nowadays. Like, that was fucking awesome. God damn. I didn't even know they could really get away with doing that shit when this movie came out in 1964, but clearly I was wrong. That was fucking awesome. Hell yeah, man.
I've done as you asked.
Okay. I don't know what the fuck it is about Doctor Strangelove.
If you keep it a secret, why didn't you turn around?
Something about this motherfucker is creeping the shit out of me. I don't know if it's his fucking the way he looks, or it's his voice, or his fucking attitude, but he's really starting to fucking creep the shit out of me, and he just got introduced. And holy shit, that is a fucking beautiful shot of this fucking shootout. That's fucking amazing. Guys, like, I'm honestly blown away right now by the... And he just shut up that fucking office. Talk about a major fucking shootout. God damn it, I am fucking loving every minute of this movie, man. I have a sneaking suspicion he's about to kill himself. I could be wrong. And he just fucking shot himself. I fucking called it. I knew it. I had a fucking feeling this was a suicide mission for him. So, clearly this is just him fucking hating on the Russians because he doesn't really have a reason for it. I guess his reasoning is just that, oh, you gotta do what you gotta do. But, yeah, that was actually pretty fucking cool. This movie just keeps getting better and better by the fucking minute, and I am just loving every single second of it, guys. I really fucking am.
Approximate speed.
Is that fucking guy seriously riding that nuke down to the ground like a horse? Holy fucking shit, he is. And he's wearing a cowboy hat while he does it. And boom. That was fucking awesome. Fuck yes. Well, guys, that was Doctor Strangelove, or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb. Let me shut that off. Wow, that was, a very bleak ending, actually. Huh. But then again, I shouldn't really be surprised that it's Stanley Kubrick we're fucking talking about here. Okay. Wow. Okay, where the fuck to start with this? Well, let me just say, when I went into this, I kind of had slight hopes, but I also kind of had that little chip on my shoulder, because while I know Stanley Kubrick can make great films, I also know he can make shit films like The Shining, like I previously stated. So going in, I knew this could be a gem, like A Clockwork Orange, or it could be a pile of dog shit like The Shining. This featured heavily on the side of A Clockwork Orange. And I'm going to explain that. Let's start with the writing. Now, the thing of this film is, it's a political satire black comedy. And the thing about that is, I really do enjoy black comedies, but political satires are, a lot of the time, very difficult to actually make interesting. Because politics, as we all know, is quite a boring thing, to be honest. And when you mix political satire with black comedy, it's kind of like really difficult to actually make something like that work. A lot of the times, it's hard to make political stuff interesting. Like, the Purge 3 election year was, they featured a hell of a lot more politics in that film than they really did The Purge itself. And it ended up making the film lower in its quality than the previous, and it wound up actually kind of being shit. But the thing of this is, Stanley Kubrick was able to take his idea and make it fucking amazing. Because where the storyline basically is a general goes off of his deep end and orders a nuclear attack against Russia without even asking the president for permission to do so, and he closes off his base and he launches the attack. And you jumped around from him with his, I guess, co-officer to the president and a bunch of people in an office trying to figure out what to do, to jumping to the people that are trying to launch the attack themselves in the jet. Now, what was so very interesting about this was the way that they went at it, because they were able to keep the story very interesting while putting comedy that was really dark and making it fucking work, which is a really difficult thing to be able to do. Let me give you, for instance, during one part of the movie, you had the President of the United States talking to the President of Russia, and they had what has to be the most oddest fucking conversation between presidents I have ever fucking heard in my life. But the thing of it is, it was so odd and so weird, it was just fucking hilarious. And that is saying something, because I didn't think that you'd ever be able to make a serious conversation between two presidents about nuclear war actually funny. And another good reference would be when the co-officer is trying to get in touch with the president to sort of like call off the strike, and he doesn't have enough change for the payphone, and he's standing there with this guy, and he's ordering the guy to shoot the Coca-Cola machine so he could get the change and make the call, and the guy's response is that that's property of the Coca-Cola company, which is actually extremely hilarious when you think about it, because they're about to fucking start a nuclear war, and he's more concerned about the property of fucking Coca-Cola. Another really dark but somehow hilarious moment is that one of the jet pilots that is launching the nuclear attack itself, he is trying to set the bombs down, but the doors that open and launch the bombs, the nuclear bombs, is broken. So he himself has to go down and rewire it so the doors open. But what this motherfucker doesn't do is he doesn't get off in time, and he goes down with the nuke. And while that doesn't sound very funny on paper, what made it extremely fucking funny was him waving his hands up in the air going yippee-ki-yay while wearing a cowboy hat like he's having the time of his life when he's plummeting to his fucking death. That is fucking hilarious. They were able to not only make a political film fascinating, they were also able to make it fucking funny. And that itself is a major accomplishment in its own right. And not only that, the characters themselves have like their own trait that makes them so like interesting. Like the president is just kind of like, why is this happening? I'm supposed to be the only one that does this. What? How is this going on? But you had the general that ordered the attack. He was just a drunk son of a bitch that went off the deep end. Like I didn't even understand what the fuck his logic was at the time, because at one point he goes off to his fucking co-officer about how Russians apparently don't drink water, they only drink vodka. Which, pretty sure is not too accurate, because I feel like if you just drink vodka, you're gonna be fucking dead, but clearly the motherfucker has lost his goddamn mind. And then you had his co-officer, who was played by the guy who was the original Pink Panther, I can't really remember his name, but he is just spending his entire time trying to talk the fucking guy down to like call this whole thing off, and he just as he thinks he's able to do that, the guy blows his fucking brains on, and he's just kind of like, well, fuck, I guess it's up to me then. But the most interesting character by far in this movie was Dr. Strangelove. But the thing of that is, he only has like not that much screen time as he should have, because his name is in the fucking title of the movie. But the thing of that also is, the screen time he's given, Peter Seller, I think his name is able to fucking just blow everybody away with his performance. And what that is Dr. Strangelove is a nuclear expert, plus he's an ex-Nazi in a wheelchair. And what made his character so interesting is he seems to actually want the nuclear war to happen, and he has this thing where he has this muscle spasms where he can't control his arm, and he ends up saluting Hitler. It's really, really fucking dark, but it's really fucking hilarious. And he has to be one of the creepiest motherfuckers I have ever seen in my life. So, by far, I'd have to say here that the writing is one of the strongest suits, and it honestly has one of the best fucking stories that Stanley Kubrick was able to tell. And going into this, I didn't think I was going to like it, because I'm not a fan of politics, but I ended up fucking loving it. So, but I do have to comment on that ending, because the ending is kind of just Dr. Strangelove standing up out of his wheelchair and, well, I can walk. And then it just shows a bunch of shots of nuclear explosions, and then it just ends. It's really dark, it's really bleak, and it's just like, wow, that's not how I was expecting this to end. But the thing of that is, while that ending will probably piss a lot of people off that want a happy ending, it kind of fits the tone of the movie, because the movie itself is black comedy. So while the ending is not for everybody, I thought that the ending itself was fucking perfect for the film. But the thing of this is, it kind of set itself up for a second film that never got the chance to be made. Which is kind of a disappointment, because I would have personally loved a fucking sequel to this film. But that's just my opinion. Okay, moving on, let's talk about the acting. The acting in this movie is fucking amazing. There is not a single actor in this movie that isn't given his time to shine with what character they are playing. And if I had to pick, like, the best performance by far in the movie, I'd have to say the guy that played General Jack Ripper, I believe his name was. I don't remember the actor's name itself, but just the way he went with his role. He's just this drunk bastard with this crazy look in his eyes that just... He just doesn't care what happens to him. He, as far as he's concerned, is in the fucking right, and he will do whatever he has to do to make sure it fucking works, and it goes how it does. And he even states, like, when his soldiers surrender and he's just kind of sitting there in defeat, he knew in himself that it wasn't going to go the way he wanted, and he knew if they were to torture him, he would give up. So he knew he was not getting out of this alive, and he pretty much just, with like the biggest like little smirk on his face, kind of just shrugged it off and said, "I'll let God judge me himself. I believe there is another life after this," and he fucking kills himself. His performance is the darkest, but the most beautiful thing I've seen in a Stanley Kubrick film. And I honestly have to give him major props for his performance. And it kind of outshines Peter Sellers. Don't get me wrong, Peter Sellers is fucking great in this film. He plays 3 different characters. He plays... I don't really know what that guy was. He was kind of in charge of weapons or something. I'm not really sure. And he played the President, and then he played Dr. Strangelove. And the thing of it is, each of the characters he plays are so different from each other, but he manages so well to play them off like they're completely different characters. And honestly, if I didn't know he was playing 3 different characters, I never would have guessed that they were all him. And that itself is a major accomplishment in its own right. And, but by far, his performance as Dr. Strangelove is by far the best out of all of the characters. Or out of all the characters he plays, I should say. Because not only does he play it with everything he has inside of him, he kind of just loses himself in the character, and it almost makes you feel like you're watching a real fucking Nazi with a passion for nuclear war. And that, in its own right, is a fucking major thing. And then you had the man that played the original Black Panther. No, not Black Panther, Pink Panther, I'm sorry. And he himself plays this, like, nervous officer that just is trying every way in his power to figure out how he can stop this crazy son of a bitch from doing this war and convince him to call it off. And he does really well with what he's given. Now, I will say he's not really as big to the movie as he probably could be. That's something I really should mention. One key aspect of the writing that I will have to give a kind of a criticism to is the character that the original Pink Panther played you never find out what exactly his fate is. And the thing of that is, I don't really care for something like that because he's a big part of it for a lot of the thing. And then after he gets in contact with the person, you never hear about him again. And the film ends without learning his fate. That itself is kind of a major disappointment because I really wanted to know what was going to happen with his character. Was he going to be tried? Were they gonna think he was behind it with the guy, the general in charge, or were they gonna realize he had nothing to do with it? That is something I'll never know, and that's a major disappointment to me. Now, okay, so writing, amazing, acting, amazing. Let's talk about special effects. The special effects in this movie, especially for one from 1964, are fucking beautiful. The shots of war, the shootouts going on between soldiers are fucking so beautiful. The explosions look really amazing that are happening when the shootouts are going down. And the planes look fucking first class, especially from the jets and the fighter planes of that time and day. That they looked fucking amazing. And while it's pretty obvious they're using green screens for the sky in the backgrounds the plane is flying through, it looks really fucking nice. And I really dig that. But the biggest fucking amazing thing of all were the nukes. Those fucking nukes. I have to mention, both nukes had things written on the back. I guess it was the names of the nukes themselves that said, "Hi there," and "Dear John." I saw that, and I could not help but laugh. That was extremely clever, and I fucking loved that. The nukes themselves, though, I will have to say, looked fucking amazing. Like, they went first class. They didn't use CGI like a lot of other war movies do nowadays. And the thing of that is, when you can use CGI nowadays and make it look good, but when you're doing a war movie, it really helps when a nuke looks like it's an actual nuke that you can touch. And Stanley Kubrick fucking did that here, and the nukes looked fucking beautiful. And the explosions themselves also looked fucking great. Now, I also would like to comment on the camera work here. The camera work is probably one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen Stanley Kubrick deliver. Like, while I hated The Shining, he does give a lot of fucking beautiful shots around of the building and the mazes and everything in that. Same can be said with A Clockwork Orange, with Lolita, Full Metal Jacket, Eyes Wide Shut, and so on. But the thing of that is, Dr. Strangelove is able to fucking surpass all those films with the way he films what is going on around him. It almost feels like you're actually there in the middle of that fucking war. With the fucking gunshots going off and the fucking explosions, it looks like, with a few shots, it almost looks like you're watching a fucking documentary about war, and that, in its own right, is a major accomplishment, and it's fucking awesome. And honestly, this probably has to be my second favorite film by Stanley Kubrick after Clockwork Orange. Because the reason I love Clockwork Orange so much, though, is because I'm a huge fan of the book, and the movie not only does the book justice, but it fucking makes its own sparks, which is why it's a fucking masterpiece. This film is like that in its own right, but it's not quite up to the expectations, at least in my opinion, that the Clockwork Orange film gives. But honestly, when all is said and done, am I able to recommend Doctor Strangelove or How I Learned to Stop Worrying and Love the Bomb? Fuck yes. Watch this film. It is one of Stanley Kubrick's best films. And honestly, if they ever opt to remaster this, I don't know if they have. I know it's in black and white, but if they remaster this, I fucking want it. Because this was a beautiful cinematic experience, and I absolutely loved it. Well, guys, that's kind of all I have to say. I have one more thing to say. I have one more criticism I have to give out, and that's I just remembered. There's one actor in particular I do have to point out, but it's just kind of minor because she's in like one scene in the film. The secretary to the weapons guy for the military or army, his secretary, when she's on the phone taking the call for the guy when he's in the bathroom. Her performance feels kind of, honestly, lifeless, especially for the scene when it's supposed to be like a really tense scene. They just get this call in and there's a fucking war about to start, and she just doesn't really feel right in the part that she's trying to deliver. But that's just kind of like a minor little thing. You probably won't think much of it. I just couldn't help but feel that. But that's just minor nitpicking little criticism. But the rest of the film itself, fucking amazing. Well, guys, that's all I really have to say. I hope you enjoyed this review. I certainly enjoyed giving it to you. Make sure to like, subscribe, and if you have any movies you would like to see me review, comment them down below in the comments. For now, guys, I'm gonna go, and I will see you again later. Peace out, guys.